real quick, just wanted to let you guys know I totally messed up the audio for this week's episode. It sounds fine, but forgot to plug in the audio board to my computer, so the audio is not fantastic, but it's usable and you can still hear it. It's just not as clear as normal. So if it sounds a little bit off, that's why. Hopefully I'll have this fixed by next week. Just missing out on tiny little details. All right, but enjoy this week's episode. We had a lot of fun making it. We went a little bit over for time, so we've got uncourt content coming out later with some extra stuff with Would You Rather NBA players, where we're going to go pick between two NBA players and say who we would rather have on our teams. Enjoy this week's episode. Thanks. Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another Cork It podcast. My name is Kyle. I'm joined here by
JJ,
Nico,
and we are getting ready. Let's jump into this new episode. First of all, we welcome Dominic Contini to the team last week. He'll be back with us this next episode, I believe, and we'll all four be here all at once. We're getting the equipment figured out. We're getting all this stuff happening. Big things on the move for Cork It. Stay tuned later this week. I think we got some other announcements coming up. We've got uncorked content. I believe I said it's going to be on Thursday, but we're coming to you technically a day late because, stuff happens.
So it'd be tomorrow.
Yeah, so technically you guys would be seeing the uncorked content tomorrow. We've got a video that we shot over the weekend in Pittsburgh. We were visiting Dante and Nick. And so you guys will be able to see that uncorked content tomorrow around noon, I believe. So yeah, staying tuned for that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun shooting it. So far, I've been editing it. It was so much fun. It was just a lot of fun to make. But yeah, that's the content we've got coming up. We've got we'll get some reels out, some little clips and stuff on our Instagram. So make sure you follow us there. We just hit 100 followers. So be sure to give us a follow there. Also follow us on TikTok. We've got some videos there. One of our videos on TikTok,
like 7K or something.
We're so good at TikTok.
So yeah, be sure to follow us on Instagram if you don't already. Follow us on TikTok. We had a video about the hardest sport. It went semi-viral. What did it get? Almost 1,000 likes.
Almost 8,000 views.
Almost 8,000 views. We're doing pretty good. Yeah. Doing pretty well for ourselves over here at Cork It.
But we're not here for the numbers.
We're not.
Just talk about what we like to
relax
talk
with
about.
Some friends.
Yeah.
Good conversation.
Exactly.
But we would love to blow up.
The numbers are nice. The numbers are nice. The numbers are very nice.
Hey, we made a cent.
Yeah, we
made
it. Actually,
officially making money.
I checked. We made 5 cents.
Business is
5
booming.
Cents.
Business is booming.
So yeah, if you have heard, I recorded a little advertisement for Anchor, our good friends at Anchor, and I'm speaking from the heart because this is not even our ad. I'm speaking from the heart here. Thank you to Anchor for allowing us to have our first advertisement.
Appreciate it. Yes,
we've now made 5 cents off this podcast.
Money moves.
And it makes me think that all of this is worth it. All right, so
what do we want to talk about?
Yeah,
I've got around the league technically, but I don't know. It's been crazy. So around the league, real quick, we've got the NBA Finals are in full effect. The NHL Conference Finals are also in full effect. NBA Finals series right now is at 1-1.
Yep.
Sunday night, the Warriors just beat the Celtics.
Killed them.
Don't they play tonight?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Because it's like every couple days, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah, so every couple days for that. And then I'm trying to think. The first game, the Celtics came back from a lot because I fell asleep because I turned it off and I was like, yeah,
they were down 15 if I remember correctly.
Yeah. They were down 12 going into the fourth.
Yeah. So I just remember turning it off because I was like, Warriors aren't blowing a lead like this. Yeah. And they did. So it,
good bounce back game.
Stuff happens.
Softball.
Yeah, softball. Oklahoma, oh my goodness, is killing it right now in the College World Series.
15-0 against UCLA.
Yeah, and did you see the clip? I think I sent it to you guys. It was one of the players from Oklahoma softball saying like they were getting ready for the conference finals game to send them to the College World Series, and she was basically saying to another teammate that it's only going to take them 5 innings to send them to the World Series because the run rule is after 5 innings. If you're up by 8 runs or more, they call it mercy rule. And she was like, yeah, it's only going to take us 5 innings. That is insane. Oklahoma, this College World Series team,
Nuts.
might be one of the most dominant teams in sports. Because I'm going to be serious. Like, not only have they won, like, 90% of the games, but, like, of that 90% of the... Or actually, not only have they won, like, almost all their games.
It's just dominance.
But of all of those wins, like, 80% of them came off of mercy rules.
Yeah.
Like, absolute dominance. So it'd be like if the 2016 or the 73 win Warriors, if every game they went out, they won by 30 points. Like, that's what we're watching right now.
Yeah,
like,
nuts.
it is insane. Shout out to Oklahoma softball. Craziness. And then I wanted to pull up the NHL because the Rangers are up 2-1 on the Lightning right now, which... very good for them. I believe the Avs already moved on. Yeah, they swept the Oilers. Avalanche have been crazy this playoffs. So they're already in the Stanley Cup final, and the Rangers are up 2-1 on the Lightning. Rangers have been kind of crazy, winning 5 straight elimination games. You know, they came back from 3-1 against the Penguins, came back from 2-0 last round, and now they're in the conference finals against the Lightning up 2-1. So the Rangers have a crazy story on their hands. Meanwhile, New York sports, Mets and Yankees are both doing really well, with the Mets possible contenders this year. New York sports are in a good spot, except for football.
New York baseball is in a good spot.
Well, New York baseball is in a good spot. New York hockey is in a good spot because they're in the Eastern Conference final. But, New York basketball.
Football.
It's also crazy how the Nets were officially the only team to get swept in the entire NBA playoffs. Yeah. And they were, like, favorites going into the season. That's pretty crazy. But, yeah, that's my little bit of the, around the league. A little short around the league.
Geez, my bad. Yesterday it was Wales qualified for the World Cup, and there was UEFA Nations League play happening.
So is Wales is in the group with the U.S., are they not?
Yeah. So it's now the official group is us, Wales, England, and who's that fourth team? Why can't I think of it? Iran. That's the fourth team.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of baseball, we went to Pittsburgh this past weekend.
We did go to Pittsburgh this past weekend.
And it was a lot of fun.
Shout out Dante.
I don't know if they listen to this because we found out, too, that Dante's family doesn't know that he records this podcast with us.
Well, his older sister does. His
older sister follows us. Shout out Gianna.
Yeah.
Shout out Gianna.
Thanks for the support.
Yeah, but we found out, like, I was talking to him and I was like, does your mom know that we do this? Like, does your mom know that you're on a podcast? He's like, well, I haven't told her. And I was like, that's so weird.
Yeah,
because
shout out the family.
Yeah, they were great hosts.
Shout out the Ellison family for the hospitality. Fantastic hosts.
Nice people.
Fantastic air mattresses, by the way. Let me tell you, every air mattress I've slept on, it's deflated in the middle of the night, and I got really uncomfortable. The Ellison air mattresses, let me tell you, are something different. For 2 nights we slept there.
We did.
And I didn't have to, like, reinflate it. It just stayed the same. No deflation. So shout out to Mr. Ellison for buying some good quality air mattresses.
They were great.
Really appreciate it.
Also, we had some incredible food down there. Mr. Ellison made us crepes.
Fantastic. They were
crepes,
delicious.
Fantastic. We also ate at Primanti Bros, which is like the Pittsburgh, like,
sandwich spot.
It's like the spot, you know what I'm saying? It's like
pretty
LA's
it's kind of like
their
skyline.
Yeah, okay. That's a pretty decent.
Really good.
Yeah, but it's not
really
it's not at all skyline.
No, it's not at all skyline.
It was a quality sandwich.
It was very quality sandwich. They put fries and coleslaw on it.
It was very very interesting.
Yeah, very good. And
went to the Pirates game though.
Yeah,
we did.
That was
saw a walk-off home run.
Dropped a bag on food.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't ready for how expensive some of that food was, but I mean that's ballpark food in itself. But because I feel like we get not as much of that because our like the teams in Columbus are, you know, we've got an NHL team,
that's it.
We've got a AAA team, and then we've got a MLS team.
Right.
And with MLS and NHL, the prices are a little bit lower,
yeah.
You know. And then AAA, they're like a lot lower because they have like the Dime of Dog nights every like Tuesday games or whatever. So those are a lot of fun. But so I wasn't really expecting that, but it was fantastic. Jack Sawinski hit a walk-off 2-run home run.
It was beautiful.
And it was like the best part about that I think was that it was a boring game. The
entire
game.
It was so boring.
They went into the bottom of the 9th with 3 hits.
Yeah.
And they got their 4th hit. The first batter up got his 4th hit, and the second guy up was Jack Sawinski.
Yep.
Hit a 2-run home run to win it 2-1, which was fantastic. I also loved that they played that scene from Pirates of the Caribbean,
yeah.
like the third one. I literally got chills.
Yeah.
I was like
really
sitting
cool.
there, they hoist the colors and all that stuff. Maybe I'll put the clip right here. And that was fantastic. A lot of fun. But yeah, Pittsburgh was an incredible city. I also really just did enjoy just walking around the city.
Yeah.
Downtown Pittsburgh's a beautiful
Downtown
spot.
Pittsburgh is a very nice spot. Even though I'm not a huge fan of the Penguins or the Steelers, I did enjoy the Pirates game.
Yep.
I gotta say, it was a lot of fun. And Pittsburgh is a beautiful city.
It is.
But yeah. So that was a lot of fun. That's our little update for you guys. Our little field trip, our Cork It field trip.
Business trip.
Shout out Anchor for the 5 cents.
Yeah, shout out Anchor.
It really helped us.
It went towards my hot dog and fries at the game. So
I will say, if you're at PNC Ballpark and you're just hungry, don't go anywhere but behind the outfield. It's called Nachorita. Just get any one of the 3 options. It's just this big box of nachos. It's delicious and it's filling, and it's the only thing you'll have to eat.
They're really good.
They were.
Yeah.
I was kind of bummed because my dad was sending me all of these like food suggestions, and he's like, "You're at PNC, you gotta try this place. You gotta try this place." And he sent me like a place to go to.
Walked around 10 minutes and it wasn't.
We walked around for like
Yeah.
10 minutes. It's not there anymore.
And
It was, but the article that he like read it for was like from 2014. So it was like no good to us. But it was like it was like a Cuban hot dog. So it was like a foot-long hot dog with like pulled pork, ham, Swiss cheese, pickles, and mustard on it.
Yeah.
Which sounds incredible. Which,
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're going to PNC, and my guess, any ballpark, if you're actually hungry, eat before.
yeah, I would probably eat
Save
before.
some money.
Permanente Bros before, you definitely
Save
should.
a lot of money.
They have a Permanente Bros in the ballpark, but
They
I've
do.
heard that the Permanente Bros is a lot better in the restaurant, not at the ballpark.
I would think
And
so.
That's what I heard as
the
well.
Ellison family,
Secret.
they backed me on that. They were like, definitely go to the restaurant. So
Yeah.
all right, you guys take over for something because I have to tell my dad what I want from this Chinese food place.
Sweet.
Actually, what do you want from this Chinese food place?
I actually
what's
don't
your
know.
what's your order?
So over, actually for lunch today, I tried this like hibachi place over by my job that I'd never been to. It was like a very small hibachi place, like locally owned, and it was very good. But I wasn't. I mean, steak and shrimp is the way to go, in my opinion. You go surf and turf on the hibachi. So now I got to figure out what I want Chinese food wise because
Nico, what do you like to eat from Chinese?
Chinese food, orange chicken,
Mm.
fried rice,
Mm.
maybe some steamed dumplings or pasta.
see, I've been on a white rice kind of thing.
You are obsessed with
White rice is
I
very,
like white
very
rice.
good.
Yeah.
No,
I
the
see
way to
this-
go,
Yeah.
you get, well, honey orange chicken is obviously very,
Very good.
very, very good. But I've been really starting to lean towards sesame chicken and white rice with 2 or 3 egg rolls.
Mhm.
You know the place up by Kroger, the New China Express.
Yeah.
Very good.
My
very
brother-
good.
my-
If you're in Westerville, you know what I'm talking about.
My brother one time got sick from New China Express because I think he got cross contaminations with like a peanut dish and like almost went into anaphylactic shock.
That's unfortunate.
It's pretty
Sorry.
bad.
Very sad.
It
Sorry.
was pretty bad.
Didn't mean to giggle at that.
No, it was okay.
I
So
don't know why you're laughing, Nico. It's not funny.
It's not funny.
well, he survived. So he's also doing immunotherapy for peanuts. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah, I think
So
you were
he's like
telling us about
he's like
that.
eating like a tiny bit of a peanut every single day until his body like realizes
He's
that
been
it's
doing that for a
okay.
while.
to-
Yeah, I was gonna say you
Well,
told
yeah,
us
because he wanted to do it so that he could
eat peanuts.
so that he could join the National Guard.
That's right.
Because you can't have a peanut allergy in the National Guard, apparently. But I think it makes sense because, like, mess hall, they can't, like,
Yeah.
like, not necessarily that they're giving you peanut stuff, but, like, they can't have to, like, put you at a peanut-free table in
Yeah.
the Army. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So I guess that's something that he was working towards. And it was honestly pretty cool. Like, the science behind it's pretty cool that you can train your body into fighting off a, really
Allergic
serious
reaction or
allergic
something.
reaction. So
Yeah.
that was pretty interesting. Okay.
So what are you ordering?
I have no idea, to be honest with you, because I don't know if I want something like a fried rice and meat dish because I had that for lunch. It's hard for me to think now.
Yeah.
Don't worry, that's still on. It's just
Yeah.
the monitor died.
Unfortunate.
Well, we can talk about stuff, I think we'll.
Yeah.
Want to jump into the finals?
Yeah, I would like to go on a personal rant against Draymond Green. That man makes me so mad.
Before you go into your rant, I do want to say that clip of him like creating that space for Steph. I thought that was awesome. You always want a teammate like that.
Yeah.
Playing an offensive lineman as a basketball player. Creating that space for the best 3-point shooter in NBA history.
Draymond literally is like if you got like a football player to
I
play
mean,
basketball.
he played
Goat
football.
IQ.
I mean, he played football at Michigan State.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah,
I
but
thought
did
that
you
was-
see his highlights for Michigan State? dude was a third string tight end. He played in one spring game. Come on.
Anyways,
That's all I wanted to say.
he just makes me very upset because I want to like Draymond because like I feel like there's times, especially on his podcast or when he's just like talking about like basketball, I feel that he's like very knowledgeable and he like can give a good perspective. But just sometimes for me, I feel like he just is willfully ignorant of what he's doing or like what's happening and just like kind of just making it his own agenda, but like putting his own twist on it, and then like that's what happened when clearly like that's not what happened, especially when it comes to him fouling people. Like there's been many times where he like will foul someone or he'll get ejected and then he'll hop on his podcast and just be like, I don't know what happened. Like, I was just playing basketball. I was playing good basketball, and then they just threw me out. Obviously, that's not exactly what he said, like, word for word. Do you want to just unplug that, put it under?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's my only beef with Draymond is, like, I get, like, with the type of player he is, like, that you're going to have enforcers, quote unquote, and it's just what annoys me is how willfully unself-aware he is about it. You know what I mean?
I mess with him. I get what you're saying. Like I agree with you, with everything you said. But I mean, I'm not like, oh, I love Draymond Green, but I like him just solely based off the fact that I think he's a great teammate with like, especially with that
Yeah.
Warriors team. I
He's a
feel
good
like
teammate for sure.
like I'm not saying like, oh, like Steph isn't having the success without Draymond, but like I do think to a certain like
He is-
level, Draymond does make Steph better. He does make Clay better.
Yeah.
And especially with like, I've mentioned this before, but with like that big three, like they're all getting older.
Yeah.
I think having Draymond there for those younger guys,
Yeah.
I think it's a huge help.
No,
so
he's-
I totally agree with everything you're saying, and like, I mean, he does it all the time, so it is annoying a lot of the times. But like, I just think his presence, his basketball IQ
Yeah.
on that team, I think it's fantastic.
No, he's definitely very valuable to that team.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
To kind of compare him, I feel like he and Pat Bev are
I think they're very similar,
very similar, if not like the same.
except Draymond will actually make your teammates better.
Except
Ooh.
Draymond just like acts like he's not like running into a guy, or he acts like he didn't do anything wrong. Where Pat Bev will like do something wrong.
That's a lot of NBA players.
Where
That is
Pat
a lot
Bev
of
will
NBA
like do
players.
something wrong and then own up to it.
That's a lot of NBA players though. They'll like
Right.
commit a foul, and again, it's
But
sometimes
it's
more extreme with Draymond because I mean it's obviously clearly a foul.
right.
But a lot of NBA players will commit a foul, or I mean even like to a certain extent,
Yeah.
like Draymond's IQ, like he thinks he can like do something and he can get away with it because like of the rules of the game and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I mean he will argue some calls, but you see that with a lot of NBA players. They'll
Yeah.
get a foul and then they'll just like start screaming to the refs or like
Yeah.
go on to like the media, like the interview after the game, and be like, yeah, I don't know why that was a foul. Like the refs shouldn't have done this. So I think you see that
That's
a lot.
fair.
But that's also just the culture of today's game.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
see that everywhere. Speaking of Draymond becoming a better teammate, Colin Cowherd, who him and Skip Bayless are, in my opinion, two of the most controversial people in their takes. And he said that Colin Cowherd said that Draymond Green makes all of his teammates better, where John Wall and Russell Westbrook have never made a single teammate better. What are your
ridiculous.
thoughts about that? Because I think that is
John Wall maybe. I'll say John Wall maybe.
John Wall
Ooh, I'm
maybe.
not thinking John Wall maybe. Did you
Russell
see?
Westbrook definitely not.
Oh, Russell Westbrook,
Russell Westbrook
definitely
makes every, because I mean we talked about it in a group chat, and you brought up all the stats. Russell Westbrook has made the players he plays with extremely better.
Mm-hmm.
I think their level of game, you can go deeper into it because you sent it to us,
Yeah.
but his teammates like KD, Paul George, even on the Wizards team with Bradley Beal, he excelled their games. And it might you might not see that because all those players are all-star players, all-NBA players. But it's Russell Westbrook is the reason why they had such great
Here's the other argument to that is because it's so easy to be like, okay, well, KD was going to be KD, right? Bradley Beal is going to be Bradley Beal. Name a teammate he actually made better. Steven Adams was borderline, people were talking about him as this a top 15 center, top 10 center in the league. And the Thunder ended up paying him a massive contract because they saw his production with Westbrook. What is he doing on the Grizzlies right now?
Nothing.
He's sitting. Not nothing, but
not as much.
He went from
nothing compared to what he was doing.
He went from a 15 and 10.
But I think
let me finish up.
Yeah.
He went from a 15 and 10 player with a high production value, high efficiency rating to now playing on the Grizzlies. Granted, it's a different role, right? Yeah. But he's not, even if he got the minutes he was getting, he's at best an 8-and-8 type player.
Yeah.
So I will say that he made a big difference in that. I would say Daniel Gafford was someone else that he kind of gave production value to on the Wizards. There's a lot of younger guys. I think Oladipo did really well with him. I mean, if you want to say, well, Beal's going to be Beal, Paul George is going to be Paul George, KD's going to be KD, you can find the other teammates that were there that he made look good. I mean, the fact that people looked at that 2016-17 team when he won MVP, and they looked at that team and they were like, yeah, I mean, Westbrook didn't have a horrible team. I mean, he had, really young Victor Oladipo and Enes Kanter, and I'm like, okay, are you serious? He made people look good. Yeah. And also, I will say the other thing about John Wall. John Wall made players look good. I mean, Marcin Gortat had an insane contract at the end of his career because he played with John Wall, and John Wall made that man look fantastic. So, I mean, I think that's a horrendous take to say that they've never made players better. But then to counter that, we're going to say Draymond made players better. Did he? Or does he just have Steph Curry on his team? Because that's my thing is
like I said earlier,
it's so hard to differentiate the two. Because wait, go ahead, and then I'll.
So like I said earlier, it's not that Steph's gonna do the same thing with or without Draymond because Steph is insane, but Draymond does make Steph better. He does make Clay better, and I think, especially with with just this season, with all the young guys on that team, Draymond's presence makes that team.
I think. I mean, just overall, I think that they're incomparable just because the other two players, it was Russ and John Wall. Both of them are at their peaks a number one option on that team. Draymond Green at his peak has never been a number one option. So I think that's where they're incomparable. But where I do kind of see what he said was just that Draymond, I think he knows that he doesn't have the role of being a number one option. He knows that's not when he's best, and so that he's able to fill into that third or fourth role and kind of just exploit that and be the best fourth role he can, and by doing that he makes his teammates better and whatever. But I don't think it's really comparable. I don't think it's comparable.
With the prime Warriors team, so their best season 15, 16, 17, I would say they don't have, I'm not saying they don't go to the finals, but they don't have that many wins or whatever without Draymond.
No.
And I would say that prime Warriors team when they were all younger, I would say Draymond was one of the best third, fourth options.
Correct.
Maybe.
I mean, people forget in the 16 final he dropped 32 in Game 7.
Yeah.
Draymond Green did that.
And even not even on the offensive side of the game.
Just in general.
Side,
in general, just as a presence.
IQ of a player, it makes everyone better.
Yeah. So I agree with that, and I do think this is not to say that Draymond Green doesn't make an impact. He does. But wherein I have a problem with that take is that if you're going to say, well, okay, Russell Westbrook and John Wall played with Bradley Beal, and Bradley Beal's can be Bradley Beal, and Kevin Durant's can be Kevin Durant, and Paul George can be Paul George. Like, where does Draymond Green come in? Steph's going to be Steph, right?
Yeah.
And so we saw the one season that Steph was out the whole year, and Clay was out the whole year, just Draymond.
Yeah.
They won 20 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, was he making his teammates better? Probably a little bit. But was he making them really good?
Right.
Like,
But,
no. But
yeah. I don't think they're comparable.
I don't think they're comparable in that sense. But I do think to say that,
What's wrong with you?
It came off.
That's your fault.
I'll just hold it like that the rest of the time. Just take it
Oh
out.
my gosh. Anyways.
That's not my fault. It came loose.
Anyways, while they're figuring this out, I wanted to talk about the finals in Game 2. Staying on the topic of Draymond, I guess this is just a I hate Draymond episode. But Draymond Green should have been ejected from Game 2. I don't care what anyone says about in 2016 everyone was complaining that Draymond got ejected. Like, you don't want to see that your top players get ejected. Yeah, you don't want to see him get ejected, but if they do something or like accumulate a bunch of somethings to warrant being ejected, then that's on them. That's not on the refs to just be like, okay, Draymond, like, don't punch a guy in the face, please. Like, it shouldn't be on the refs to keep players in a series when the players are willfully doing things to get themselves kicked out of a series. So that's what bothered me, because there was a lot of storylines of like, oh yeah, Draymond, he got the tech for the altercation. Well, I mean, like, he should have gotten a tech for what he did to Grant Williams, but he got the tech for yelling at the refs and like that whole altercation with the referees after Grant Williams fouled Draymond. And then later in the game, he and Jaylen Brown's shooting a 3-pointer, and then Draymond doing what Draymond does to antagonize the other team and like try and get under the skin of the other team. He falls on Jaylen Brown. He like puts his feet on his head, and then he like grabs his shorts while he's trying to stand up. Like, I feel like all of that stuff, like, he should have been thrown out for, especially because I felt that like he was being excessive with how he like fell on top of him, and then once he fell on top of him, he put his feet on his head. Basically, he didn't like step on him, but he put his feet over his head, and then when Jaylen Brown stood up, he like grabbed his shorts as Draymond was trying to stand up. Draymond grabbed his shorts as he was trying to stand up. So like, I felt all of that added up to being thrown out, but people were saying like the refs are like, thinking back to 16 when Draymond was suspended and everyone was like so mad that a top player in the series got thrown out, and they're like, oh, that changed the series. Like, that shouldn't be the ref's responsibility to be like, oh, he could be thrown out if he gets a tech, so we can't give him a tech because people are going to be upset that he's out of the series. Like, that shouldn't be the narrative. The narrative or the focus should be, Draymond, don't be an idiot and get yourself 2 techs and thrown out because we need you to win the series.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
And so, like, for me, it was so annoying and maddening with how the refs have been handling this playoffs, and especially, like, Game 2, where there were, like, just things that they didn't call. And who knows, maybe they didn't think it was a tech, but I personally thought it was a tech, and that he should have been thrown out. But anyways,
I
that was my thing.
I really like what you said there about how the narrative for the Cavs championship was, well, Draymond got thrown out, or Draymond got suspended. If he doesn't get suspended, I'm like, okay, but he got suspended off of his own wrongdoings, his own actions.
And it wasn't just like a one-off thing in 16. Like, it was because he, supposedly it was because he called LeBron the B word. It was because he kicked LeBron and
thank you for keeping it clean
in the groin. He kicked Steven Adams. I think he got thrown out of another game.
Well, yeah,
so in reality, it wasn't like, oh, he just kicked LeBron and like they were getting into it, so that's why he got suspended. No, he got suspended because throughout the playoffs, I don't know how.
It's like the last straw.
It was like, I heard someone explain it was like an accumulation of points. I don't know how that works, but like,
that makes sense.
there was an accumulation
Well,
of
there's
points
a certain amount of
for
text that you can get before you get suspended. for the
right.
game.
So it was something like that, and then that's why he got suspended. But people were like, "Oh, he only did this to LeBron and got suspended." Like,
Didn't that happen to Bradley, or that happened to Pat Bev this year?
something.
Because he got the accumulation of text, and they suspended him for a game, but then they repealed one of the texts.
That was Luka.
That was Luka.
Oh, that was Luka.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways,
Yeah,
that
and that's,
was
like,
my whole thing. Like,
crazy.
I don't think that was the difference in game 2. And we can talk about that
I
later.
definitely don't think that was
But
any different
it was just
Well, I mean, they also won, so.
right. It could have like
When did
some
that,
people
when
would
did that
have.
second altercation with Brown happen? Was that late in the game or was that like second quarter?
It was early in the game because people were like, "Oh, it's early in the game." The refs were like, "We don't want to throw him out this early."
Okay.
I think it was second quarter.
Oh, so you think the refs were keeping him in longer than they should have?
I don't know. The refs could have genuinely thought that it wasn't a tech, but there was storylines of to that extent going out, or like questions like, do you think the refs should have given him a tech? And then people are like, yeah, they should have, but they didn't because they wanted to keep him in the series, stuff like that. I don't know.
I get that.
Yeah,
Something I
that's
thought
interesting.
the main difference was just, I mean, the Warriors' defense and then how the Celtics shot. Because, I mean, game 1, the Celtics were shooting like 51% from the field, like 50% from 3. And then game 2, they went 37% from the field and then only 40% from the field, from 3. The Warriors shot kind of similar in both game 1 and game 2, but just the way they stepped up on the defensive side of the game in game 2, just kind of forcing the Celtics to miss more shots or take worse shots. I thought that was a key factor in it because, I mean, you saw they won like 107 to 88, so they kind of killed them. But I think that was probably the biggest thing.
I think the other thing for the Celtics is just, I mean, nobody showed up other than Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown scoring wise. I mean,
You see that a lot, though.
yeah, I mean, you do see that a lot, but like Al Horford having that big game in game 1 was big. But I'm just saying, like, you can't have.
Do we need to check the camera?
No, it's
Sorry,
good. I know.
Sorry.
I've got a timer.
Okay.
You can't have, no matter who the bench player is, you can't have, or even starters in the sense, you can't have 3 of your 5 starters only scored 2 points each.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Right.
sorry. Like,
Yeah, you can't win that
like,
way.
okay, if you're a bench player and you score 2 points, whatever. But if you're a starter, whether that be starting point guard, starting center, starting power forward, right? They had Rob Williams, Al Horford, and Marcus Smart all combined for 6 points. And, like, granted, yeah, some stuff might be different, right? They had Derek White play 30 minutes. Rob Williams only played 14, right? He wasn't playing the whole game, right? So you give the benefit of the doubt to a lot of those. But,
Yeah.
you know, you got to have some sort of, like, what is your impact to the game? If you're not scoring, what's the impact then? Because I know, I mean, Marcus Smart probably wasn't playing fantastic defense if Steph's dropping 30 on him, right? Or if, you know, stuff like this.
Well,
granted, it was a low-scoring game, so I'll give you that.
Yeah, and I mean also, I think me personally, because I kind of watched the game afterwards. I actually slept through it on accident, but no, I think the bigger thing was down the stretch, the Celtics were just having bad turnovers, and we saw that happen against Milwaukee. We saw that happen against the Heat, and we saw it kill them because against these teams that get these points off of turnovers, and especially the Warriors who are very known, Steph can just run down, hit a 3, like without even thinking about taking a layup, you know. I think that's what killed him, especially coming from your 2 best players. I mean, Tatum and Brown combined for 6 turnovers. Like, that's not great. Like, going at halftime, it was a 2-point game. It wasn't like the Warriors were blowing them out. I think, honestly, this should have. I feel like the game should have been switched. I feel like the Warriors should have won game 1, and I feel like the Celtics should have won game 2, just based off the fact that. Well, I mean, in game 1, obviously, like the Warriors had a 15-point lead, 12-point lead going into the 4th, and like they usually don't blow a lead like that. But this game, like Steph, he had 29, but he was 9 for 21, like shooting, and Clay was only 4 for 19. Like nobody on the Warriors like had a really good night.
And that's where, like, when you play the Warriors, like any team, I just feel like because the Warriors were one of the best, like, overall full teams in the NBA this year, your whole team has to show up. So, like Kyle was saying, bringing that to that point, you can't have
Devin White
just Jason Tatum
Derek
go
White.
off.
or Derek White.
You can't have just Jason and Jaylen Brown go off.
Right.
You have to have
Especially
your
from your
whole team
starters.
dropping points and doing things to affect the game. Because the Warriors,
Well,
no one had, like you said, no one had a fantastic night, but they had, from their starters, 9 points, 11 points, 12 points, 29, 11.
Yeah.
The Celtics starters were 28, 2, 2, 2, 2, and then 17.
Yeah.
It's like no matter what team you are, when you're playing the Warriors this year, your whole team has to show.
right.
Right.
And I
Oh,
mean,
definitely.
especially because we watched game one, whether you want to call it a fluke or not, Al Horford had 26, played incredible. I mean, 6 for 8 from 3. Probably won't recreate that again, but even Marcus Smart played well. He added on 18 points, shot very efficiently from the field. Jaylen Brown had himself, his 24. And then Rob Williams only played limited minutes, but, he had 8 points. And then Derek White had a great game off the bench. Jason Tatum didn't really show up that game, but his teammates were there, so he didn't have to. Next game, he shows up in a major way, but his teammates aren't there to help him at all.
Yeah. And I think also, to go back to Tatum, where he's usually just been like a go and score guy, the difference where, like, he only had 12 points in the first game and was a horrible shooting, 3 for 17. He had 13 assists. Like, that's the most assists in a finals debut, like, ever. So, like,
Or I think he's tied with Westbrook and someone else, I think, at 13.
okay, but
no, you're right. Especially for not a non-guard is insane.
Right, and for someone who's supposedly been limited to just scoring, for him to go out and get 13 assists, I mean, he grabbed 5 rebounds. It's not crazy, but like it was kind of. I watched a little more of game one. Like, it was clear to see, not clear to see, but it started to become evident that Jaylen Brown or Tatum was seeing that, like, he wasn't shooting well, and
So he did other things.
so he started to find other ways instead of just shutting down and, like, I guess I'm not shooting well tonight. So I thought that was also a big difference, or not really talked about when it came to that. But
I think if the Celtics want to win the finals, they can't be inconsistent. Because you saw in the Heat series too.
Yeah.
They would have one game where their whole team goes off. Their 2 stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they drop 30, but the rest of the team are like 10, 9, 14, 12, like all that area. But then you have the next game and Jason Tatum drops like 20, but then everyone else is 2, 4, 6 points.
yeah,
So you saw that a lot in the Heat series, and with this Warriors team, you just can't do that. You can't have one game where you're going off, and then another game where no one's showing up.
yeah.
You can't win a championship when you're so inconsistent like that.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of to go back to what we were saying, like with the game one fluke, like, I think it's both of these games you could say have been flukes, because I mean, obviously game one Horford went off, but also, like, in this game, like, Jordan Poole, he went off, so to speak.
Jordan Poole's been having a lot of those games though, so I don't think that was a fluke.
Well, I mean, like, when I mean fluke is, like, the shots he was hitting, they, like, some of the threes that he was hitting, especially down the stretch, they were just, like, backbreaking threes, because I mean, he hit a half court buzzer beater. I forget for what quarter, but and then he but then he like
or was it third?
I think it was halftime.
But anyways, he like pulls up from the logo off a turnover. I think it was a Jaylen Brown turnover.
And knocks it down.
Yeah, and then he just knocks it
But
down.
with that, I wouldn't say, even the Al Horford game, I want to call that. I mean, it was.
I don't think it's a fluke.
I don't think it's
Al
that's
Horford's
But
good.
with like
right.
with the Jordan Poole stuff, that's just him having a good night. Because you saw
Right.
that, like, he was, in my opinion, should have been the 6th man of the year. So you see that, or most improved, not 6th man.
Yeah.
You see that with him all season, and I wouldn't call that game a fluke because he's hitting, like, crazier shots.
Yeah.
But, like, even with Al Horford, he showed up a lot in the past series. So, I mean,
Right.
you can call 26 points, 6 threes.
Oh,
a
I
fluke.
don't call the 26 points a fluke. I call the
But-
6 for 8 from 3.
Yeah, that's
But
what I was
even
gonna
if
say.
he has a game, not 26, but it's
I don't think it's a
3
fluke.
or
I
4
think it's a
threes.
great night, because I feel like a fluke is like a negative connotation. I think it's a fantastic outlying night. Also, real quick, I just want to jump in here. I fact checked myself. You are right. He did have a record for most assists. He was 1 ahead of the other guys I was thinking of. So yeah, you were right.
Anyways,
Yeah, like if Al Horford not even shows up in the sense he has 20 points a game, but if he just hits like 2 threes, 3 threes, and he has that 9 points, I think I think the game's different because you have a guy like Al Horford, just a role player in that team, showing up in the game.
Yeah.
Thunder legend.
I think what annoys me most when it comes to like narratives or like storylines, when people are like, "Oh, this was just a fluke game," like I don't get, and I hate, especially when it comes to like all time like debates or like whatever, when people. So I mean, just like an easy one to point out would be people pointing to Ray Allen hitting that 3, and like. Kind of, but like back to the finals, like it annoys me when people are like, oh, that was a fluke game, like he shouldn't have done that,
like fluke shot,
like fluke shot,
lucky
shot or whatever.
That one's
Same, and like, but I mean, like what annoys me is like people like will get upset or use that as an argument,
kind of discredit the player,
right? When it's discrediting a player or a team because a player is. Like doing what he's supposed to, doing what he's supposed to,
or playing outside of his, or playing better than his initial role in the team. I agree with that because I think that something like a fluke game, especially when you're playing on the biggest stage like possible for your sport, is stupid, right? Because nobody looks at a Super Bowl winning, like a Super Bowl MVP performance as, oh, he had a fluke game. That's no. You look at it as that is greatness because he performed at a high level at the biggest stage.
Right.
But I think because you have the 7-game series and you can see, okay, Al Horford had 26 points the first game and then 2 the second game. That's when you're like able to be like, oh, well, it was a fluke first game. No, it's still an incredible game. Like, you shouldn't discredit that. But I think because you have more than one game of that,
definitely.
it's kind of where it plays into that sense. Because I think we should be using fluke games as, oh, Steph had 12. Or, oh, LeBron had 11 against the Mavericks, right? I think that should be the fluke game scenarios. I don't like this whole, like, oh, this guy went off for 30 points in a win. Yeah, it was just a fluke game. Like, if that doesn't happen. Because why are we discrediting when a guy plays well at a high level at the largest stage?
I agree with that in the sense that you should use the word fluke for an NBA player, like a good NBA player, just having an off night. Because that's like, oh, he had a fluke game because, like he said, he just didn't perform his best. But an NBA player's on a good NBA team in the finals, no matter
supposed to hit
what,
shots, supposed to make plays.
If he has a great night, a lot of threes, a lot of points, you can't call that a fluke. It's just, oh, that guy stepped up and did amazing when he should.
All right, real quick, do you have something to add to that, or do you want to go into predictions?
Shoot, I kind of did. No, it's good.
Okay, because we're just getting close, and I know you have this would you rather thing you would want to have. All right, real quick, Game 3 predictions in in Boston.
In Boston.
Going to Boston for Game 3. Predictions.
I think that Game 3, I think Boston wins it. I feel like Jason Tatum is due for a Jason Tatum game, and Klay Thompson has not been Klay Thompson for any of these playoffs besides closeout games and
Game 6 Klay.
I still have nightmares about Game 6.
Did you see it? It was like, oh, like just to get out of this slump, I'll just look up Game 6 Klay on YouTube.
Something like that, yeah. But I don't think Klay, especially after the injury, just overall, it has not been the Klay before injury. So, which is sad to see because like I like him as a player, but I don't think he has been. I think he has been like sort of been brushed under the mat or.
Yeah.
What's the phrase? Yeah,
under the rug.
Under the rug. There we go. Under the rug for his performance and like the impact or lack of impact it has, no matter whether it's a win or a loss. And I feel like Jason Tatum's due for a big game, and yeah, I just kind of feel like Jason Tatum's due for a big game. And we usually see the Boston Celtics after they have these. I mean, they're young and they're stupid and. I mean, when it comes to experience, they have these
finals-wise.
And playoffs wise, like they have these bad games where they have a bunch of turnovers, and not even just like a bunch of turnovers, but a bunch of ugly turnovers or like back-breaking turnovers, and the game after they turn it around and are able to put together a good game. So I think I think they win this. I think they win the first game back in Boston.
Yeah, you kind of took my point there. I got Celtics because they are just insane after a loss. Like, I saw stats, like, they've only, like, lost, like, back-to-back, like, one time or something. Like, I don't know what the stat was, but it was crazy. So I feel like Celtics will take it, especially because it's back in Boston. And, like you said, just that team, like, they know how to bounce back.
Yeah.
They don't look at a loss and, like, oh, like, we got killed, like, I'm not going to perform this game. Like, they look at that and, like, okay, this is where we can improve. And then they do it. They improve in everything they need to. So I think the Celtics are going to take Game 3.
I also think Celtics back in TD Garden. I think it's going to be an electric crowd. I think that I agree with the Jason Tatum performs. I think Al Horford steps a little more into his role. I think that on the Warriors side, hot take here, I think Andrew Wiggins is the second leading scorer of the game. I think he's going to have a pretty decent game. I think Clay kind of has an all-right game, but nothing to, take home to your parents or whatever, nothing to put on the fridge. Yeah. So I think that it'll be Celtics in a close one.
Yeah.
I think we're due for a close finals game. I think we're due for a close playoff game because there hasn't been many of those. I think we're due for one Game 3. I think Jason Tatum has a good game. Steph has a good game. But then I think Wiggins is the second leading scorer for the Warriors. And I think that Derek White just continues to ball out like he has been. So
I think kind of also I saw something excuse me. I mean, especially after the game one win, I think that the Celtics, I think every game, every game of this series, they're gonna decide if they stay in it or not, because it's gonna be on them to take care of the ball and sort of just like play their game, obviously. But I mean, like, I think they're, no matter what it is, because we saw in game one they were down 15, down 12, and they were able to come back and even blow them out. So I think it's the Celtics are they're going to dictate how the game goes. And honestly, I saw something Shannon Sharp said. Apparently he had Mike Tyson on his podcast, and Tyson was saying something about, like, whenever you're fighting like a rookie or you're fighting someone who it's their first fight, like they're just, or like someone who's like super experienced versus someone who's not experienced. Like the person who's not experienced, they're just dumb enough and inexperienced to not know that they're supposed to lose. So, like, to put it into the series, like the Celtics, they haven't been here and they don't have the experience. Like, so to use the quote, like, they're just dumb enough to know that they're not supposed to get down by 20 and then just like kind of close up shop. Like we saw in game one, they got down and they were just dumb enough to stay in it and like keep playing and eventually claw their way back into it and win that game. So I don't think there's going to be one game where it won't be close or like still a game.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. I'll be straight up. We have 4 minutes left on this camera.
Yes, we do.
And I also have Chinese food waiting for me, guys. Did we forget that at the beginning of the episode?
What did you order?
I went with lemon pepper shrimp. I've never had that before. It sounds kind of good. Lemon pepper shrimp. I think I'm getting some sort of rice. I don't know. And then fried pot stickers.
A lot of this is going on quick.
Yeah, I'm like 70%
I'm stealing
sure.
those pot stickers.
They're not coming to this house. Gotta go over to my grandmother's.
Dang. Anyways.
Hot takes. Finish it off. We got 4 minutes. Less than that, probably.
Takes.
I got one. Ready? Popeyes fries, top 5. Top 5 fries. So good. We went there on the way to Pittsburgh. It was insane.
Yeah, we did.
Hot take.
Hot take, Nico.
While they think of hot takes, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcasts if you don't already. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, like, comment, share. Give us your thoughts below. We do a lot of these debates things, and we always want people to share their topic or share their takes and their opinions on our takes, because it allows for us to, give it a chance to, talk to each other about what we said and, make it better.
Okay, I got one.
Go.
Celtics only win one more game in this finals.
Whoa. Jay. We can't respond. We don't have time.
I'd rather have Chris Middleton than Zach LaVine.
That's your hot take. That's all.
It's a hot take here. It's a hot take here.
Annoying hot take.
You made that
too.
face at me when I said Warriors in 5, and look what happened.
Book it.
Exactly. Celtics only won one more game. Thanks for listening to another Cork It.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to follow us, subscribe, all that jazz. JJ,
Book it.
see you guys next week.